Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage has already released 2 episodes, and with that, I can honestly say that I was wrong about it, and I officially apologize for that. For years, I covered both The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon for Screen Rant, so it was a given that I would also tackle the latest show in Chuck Lorre's evolving universe. Set after the events of the Young Sheldon finale, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage is an attempt to continue taking advantage of its parent series' popularity even after it has ended. I fully understand why Young Sheldon had to end despite still being very popular. After years of contradicting the Big Bang Theory canon by creating countless plot inconsistencies to varying degrees, they wanted to honor the established timeline with Sheldon's move to California. That said, it's also no secret that I was campaigning for the prequel's rebranding to the Coopers instead of launching a new show. It would have been a much easier transition, plus, it would also retain Young Sheldon's tone and format. CBS had other plans, however, which made me quite skeptical of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. Why Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage's multicam format worried me. The Big Bang Theory was also a multicam show. Premiering a new spin-off, even with its ties to hit shows, always comes with risks. Cheers the Tortellis and Friends Joey are some of the failed offshoots proving that they can't succeed based on connections alone. Naturally, I was worried about Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, especially since it would shift its focus from the Cooper family to the McAllisters, who now make up its ensemble cast. That said, more than anything else, I was most concerned over the change of format. Young Sheldon was a single-cam series, which meant that it was filmed in closed-door sets. Meanwhile, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage is a multi-cam show, similar to The Big Bang Theory, which was filmed in front of a live studio audience. Based on the overall vibe of the nerd-centric sitcom, its setup gave it a more humorous tone, which wasn't bad. It is just that I wanted Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage to have the same storytelling approach balancing comedy and drama as its parent series, and it was hard to imagine that in a multi-cam environment. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage premiere proves that it can still do dramatic scenes effectively. The first 2 episodes of Georgie and Mandy are surprisingly emotional. As it turns out, I didn't have anything to be concerned about at all. Having watched the first 2 episodes of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, I am quite impressed with how the series is able to balance comedy and drama effectively, despite the live audience's laughter. The single-camera setup really worked for Young Sheldon, as it allowed the director to control the pacing of the narrative. It could stay in a dramatic or tense moment for as long as it needed, which meant that these scenes were able to breathe. Being filmed in front of people, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage doesn't have that luxury, since it has live viewers to cater to. Despite that, it is still able to effectively tackle emotional moments. Georgie and Jim's conversation about the death of George is particularly a standout moment for me, as it was then that I realized that Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage isn't shying away from delving deeper storylines. It's also worth noting that the cast has been great. Montana Jordan and Emily Osment are exceptional during Georgie and Mandy's more serious conversations without losing their dynamic's playfulness. How Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage's format can make it better than Young Sheldon. Mima's shaking face while the house shakes is already funny in theory, but the laughter from the audience makes it more hysterical. The same can be said during the final scene of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage episode 2 when Georgie asks his crying sister if going to George's grave helped her, and she aggressively replies. The new show can tap into the energy of the audience for its comedy, something that Young Sheldon didn't have. When Young Sheldon first introduced us to Georgie Cooper and Mandy McAllister, I'll be the first to admit I was skeptical. Georgie, the eldest Cooper sibling, was known for his antics, getting into one scrape after another. Mandy, with her independent spirit and bad girl persona, seemed like she'd be little more than a passing phase in his life, a character that would come and go as Georgie's story unfolded. When the show hinted at a marriage between them, I thought, oh, here we go, another whirlwind romance that's doomed to end in heartbreak. But I was wrong, so wrong. Looking back now, I see how my judgment was clouded by assumptions. I misjudged the layers that lay beneath their seemingly mismatched partnership. And today, I want to officially apologize for underestimating the potential and depth of Georgie and Mandy's marriage. It's rare for a show to not just change minds but open hearts to characters who at first seem like caricatures. Georgie and Mandy, however, managed to do exactly that, and their growth over the series has brought something unexpected, a love story that's both refreshing and genuine. At the beginning, their relationship looked like a typical teenage mistake, two young people brought together by circumstances rather than compatibility. Georgie's impulsiveness, a characteristic he seemed to share with his father, George Sr., had always spelled trouble. And Mandy's fierce independence and career-minded attitude made her the last person anyone expected to settle down, especially not with someone like Georgie. But despite their differences and the obstacles they faced, including Mandy's initial hesitance to even acknowledge their relationship, something deeper was brewing. For starters, Mandy's pregnancy forced both characters to grow up faster than they likely anticipated. It wasn't just Georgie stepping up to support Mandy and their child. Mandy herself showed vulnerability, allowing Georgie to become a genuine partner in her life. This wasn't about a forced, picture-perfect romance but rather an honest exploration of two young adults navigating the shock of impending parenthood. I'll admit, I was quick to write off Georgie as incapable of true commitment. In hindsight, I realize I overlooked the compassion and loyalty that ran beneath his surface-level impulsivity. Georgie might have been the Cooper family's wild card, but he also had an undeniable love for family and a willingness to do right by those he cared about. Mandy brought out a grounded side in him that the audience, myself included, hadn't fully appreciated. His dedication to their growing family showed a resilience that few people would expect from the teenage boy with big dreams and little patience. Mandy, too, surprised us all. Though her first reaction to Georgie was almost dismissive, she grew to respect his commitment and even found comfort in the stability he offered. This wasn't a happily ever after scenario, but it was real. The authenticity of their journey, from initial resentment to a deep, if unexpected, connection, illustrates that relationships don't always fit into neat boxes or predictable arcs. They challenged each other, and perhaps more importantly, they accepted one another's flaw.